On an ordinary summer morning in the year 79 AD, the city of Pompeii wakes up like it always does. The streets begin to fill with merchants setting up their stalls, bakers pulling fresh loaves from stone ovens, and families stepping out into the warmth of the Italian sun. The air smells of bread, wine, and the sea. It is, by all appearances, a perfect day. Nothing about this moment suggests that within hours, this entire city will cease to exist. Not gradually, not over years, but in a single, violent chapter of history that will freeze thousands of lives in place forever. Pompeii sits near the Bay of Naples, a thriving Roman city fueled by trade, agriculture, and wealth. Its citizens are not poor or struggling. This is a place of luxury, with elaborate villas, colourful frescoes painted on walls, and bathhouses where people gather to relax and socialise. Life here is structured, predictable, and comfortable. And towering quietly over all of it is a mountain the locals barely think about anymore. Mount Vesuvius. To them, it is just part of the landscape. Green, silent, harmless. But what they don't know, what they can't know, is that Mount Vesuvius is not just a mountain. It is a volcano, and it has been asleep for so long that no living person remembers what it is capable of. Beneath its surface, pressure has been building for centuries. Magma churns deep underground, gases compress, and the earth itself strains under the force. The system is unstable, but on the surface, everything appears calm. That is the danger. There are no warning signs obvious enough to force evacuation, no clear signal that disaster is imminent. There have been earthquakes before. In fact, about 17 years earlier, a powerful earthquake shook Pompeii, damaging buildings and infrastructure. But the people rebuilt. They repaired their homes, restored their temples, and moved forward with their lives. Earthquakes, to them, are inconveniences, not omens. So when smaller tremors ripple through the ground in the days leading up to the eruption, they are dismissed. Annoying, perhaps. Unusual, maybe, but not catastrophic. By midday on August 24th, subtle changes begin to unfold. The ground trembles again, not violently, but enough to catch attention. Some people pause. A few glance toward the mountain. But then the moment passes, and life continues. There are meals to prepare, business to conduct, errands to run. No one gathers their belongings. No one flees the city. There is no sense of urgency. Why would there be? Nothing like this has ever happened in their lifetime. Then, without warning, everything changes. A deafening explosion tears through the sky as Mount Vesuvius erupts with unimaginable force. A column of ash, rock, and gas shoots upward, rising miles into the atmosphere. It expands rapidly, forming a massive cloud that begins to blot out the sun. Within minutes, daylight turns to twilight. Then twilight turns to darkness. The sky becomes something unrecognizable, thick, heavy, and suffocating. Panic spreads quickly, but not uniformly. Some people run immediately, grabbing whatever they can carry. Others hesitate, unsure of what is happening or where to go. Communication breaks down. Families are separated. Streets become chaotic as ash begins to fall. Soft at first, like snow, coating rooftops and gathering in the roads. But this is no ordinary snowfall. The ash is hot, dense, and relentless. As hours pass, the situation worsens. The ashfall intensifies, piling up on buildings until roofs begin to collapse under the weight. The air becomes thick with particles, making it difficult to breathe. People cover their mouths with cloth, trying desperately to filter the air, but it offers little protection. Visibility drops to almost nothing. The once busy streets of Pompeii are now disoriented pathways through darkness and debris. And still, many remain. Some seek shelter inside their homes, believing the walls will protect them. Others gather in public spaces, hoping for guidance that never comes. A few attempt to flee toward the coastline, thinking escape by sea might be possible. But even the ocean is affected, churning and retreating in unnatural ways as the eruption disrupts everything around it. Time stretches, but survival becomes increasingly unlikely. Then comes the deadliest phase of the eruption, the pyroclastic surge. This is not ash drifting slowly from the sky. This is a fast-moving avalanche of superheated gas, ash, and debris, racing down the slopes of the volcano at incredible speeds. It is nearly impossible to outrun. It is hundreds of degrees hot, and when it reaches Pompeii, it does so in seconds. The people who remain in the city do not suffer for long. The heat is overwhelming, instantly lethal. Bodies are frozen in place, locked into their final positions. Some are curled up, shielding loved ones. Others are reaching outward, as if trying to escape in their final moments. The surge engulfs everything, filling buildings, streets, and spaces with a dense, suffocating layer of ash. In that moment, Pompeii does not just fall, it is preserved. Over the next several hours, additional waves of ash and debris bury the city deeper and deeper, sealing it beneath layers of volcanic material. Structures remain standing, but hidden. Objects are left exactly where they were, and the people, now gone, leave behind voids in the ash that will one day reveal their final moments in haunting detail. And then, just as suddenly as it began, it is over. The eruption subsides. The sky eventually clears. But Pompeii is gone, not abandoned, not destroyed in the way cities usually are. It is erased, covered completely, as if it never existed at all. For nearly 2,000 years, it stays that way. It isn't until the 18th century that Pompeii begins to re-emerge. Archaeologists, digging through layers of ash, uncover something extraordinary. Entire buildings, preserved almost perfectly. Paintings still vibrant on the walls. Everyday objects, tools, pottery, furniture, left exactly where they were, nearly 2 millennia earlier. But the most powerful discoveries are the people. When archaeologists pour plaster into the hollow spaces left behind in the ash, they create casts of the victims in their final moments. These forms are not imagined, they are exact impressions of real human beings, captured at the instant their lives ended. A man shielding his face, a couple clinging to each other, a child curled into a protective position. These are not just artifacts, they are stories, frozen in time. Pompeii becomes more than a historical site. It becomes a window into a single day, an unfiltered snapshot of life, interrupted without warning. Unlike other ancient cities, which evolve and change over time, Pompeii offers something rare: stillness. A moment preserved so completely that it allows us to step into the past and see it as it was. And what it shows us is both fascinating and unsettling. Because the people of Pompeii were not expecting disaster. They were not reckless or unaware. They were living their lives, making plans, worrying about ordinary things. The eruption was not part of their story until it suddenly was. That is what makes Pompeii so powerful. It is not just about destruction. It is about unpredictability. It is about how quickly everything can change, how fragile normal life really is. One moment, everything is routine. The next, history is rewritten. Even today, Mount Vesuvius still stands over the region, quiet once again. Millions of people live nearby, going about their daily lives much like the citizens of Pompeii once did. Scientists monitor the volcano closely, watching for signs of activity, hoping that if it ever erupts again, there will be enough warning to prevent another tragedy. But Pompeii remains as a reminder that nature does not always give clear warnings, a reminder that even the most stable world can shift in an instant, and a reminder of the thousands of lives that were lived fully, right up until the moment they weren't. Because sometimes history isn't shaped over centuries. Sometimes it happens in a single day.